Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. This is Sujata and Coach Les, our live video podcast. And I'm here today with the author and somebody who's become a great friend of mine, even though we have not yet met and we are half a world away from each other. Sujata has accumulated a wealth of experience during her life, leading to insights and knowledge that cannot be coached or taught in a class. She's a mother, a wife, a journalist, a consultant, an activist, a leader, a businesswoman, domestically and internationally. In sharing her story, Sujata strives to provide readers of all backgrounds in any part of the world with real life examples on how to deal with the unpredictable nature of everyday life. And today we are jamming with a conversation called gossip. Woo-wee. How damaging can it be, especially with misinterpretation? And then that was yesterday, and today we're going to level it up again. And my question is this: are you listening and thinking, I'm not a part of this gossip chain. I'm just listening. I'm not repeating it. That's the question for today. That's the game for today, is to have these conversations. We are streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, and here on Clubhouse. And one of the things that I love is to invite people up on the stage here in Clubhouse so that they can join in the conversation. We will talk. Sujata and I will usually talk and share our ideas and share our thoughts, and then we invite people up from the audience. And for me, that is, one of the most powerful opportunities, and I'm super blessed to have several people up on stage already. And we'll get started here, and I'm going to hand the mic over to you, Sujata, just to say hello, and I'm going to go and grab my coffee that I just finished making.
Okay. So, hello everybody for taking out time to be here, because what I say is, in these rooms with Coach Les, we try to get comfortable by talking on subjects which we are not comfortable with. Let me put it that way. And this is a very good topic. I'll wait for him to come back with the coffee before I go further. But this really affects all of us, and it has been there from ages. So we'll dive in and then we'll discuss why, how, what we should do. I do hope that all of you will share some real life examples that you may have, that not may have, you probably would have gone through.
All righty. Woo. Let's get this boat on the road. Excuse me, boat on the water and whatever. So one of the things that that I was super excited about is the fact that yesterday I had such a perfect example. Hey, Joey, how are you today?
Coach and Sujata. Good to see everybody.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, sir. I'm just playing spill coffee with my coffee cup. Yep, I missed my legs though, but I did get the carpet.
Wait, you weren't joking me?
No, I wasn't joking. I was being serious.
Oh, I just posted on social media about 2 hours ago. I spilled a whole cup of coffee in my cup holder. It's like 4 inches of coffee floating in my cup holder. It was beautiful.
No. Oh, no, I was not, Joey. I did not see that. So, sorry about that. Sorry to bring back a bad memory. Although, Joey, I will say this. I did send my coffee cup. In the last 2 weeks, I've sent it across my dinner table. Almost hitting my computer. I was faster than the coffee to my computer and picked it up just as the coffee got into that place. And then I dropped my coffee cup by the fridge as I was going to put cream in it, and put a thin layer of coffee all over the kitchen floor. So you did my third one because it comes in threes. I'm going to say yours was the third. Thanks. All right. So yesterday I was dealing with a situation where a bunch of business people who had, I would say, had incomplete facts and listened to gossip and made choices around that. And, I'd been at the effect of that in a similar environment a few years ago. And I look and I think, this can be so damaging to people's personality, to their business, and when misinterpretation happens or people talk in the background, or as I would say, chitter chatter, or explain things to people in a way that doesn't add value, doesn't add or improve a situation, and they don't include the person that they're talking about, it is one of the most unprofessional things I think that can happen. Now, if you're looking, and one of the questions that I was asked this morning in a meeting was, well, how do I have a conversation with my boss about supporting, training, and developing somebody? I'm like, that is a completely different situation. That is called speaking about somebody's performance for training and development purposes and leveling them up. And the way that is done, when it's done in that professional manner, then incorporates let's say there's one meeting where it's the two, you and the boss, or you and the person, the subordinate, talking and sharing and looking and maybe asking a question or two with another fellow employee, not to look and get the gossip, but to look and verify information. And then that information is then used to sit down with an employee to move them forward, to level them up, to have a conversation that makes a difference. And in that conversation, you are made aware, we spoke with X, Y, and Z, and they are super excited about you leveling up. And here's a couple of areas they thought were areas of growth opportunity, which is a very different way of having a conversation with somebody about areas where they could grow or areas where they may have made some mistakes. And for me, that is such a powerful difference and such a powerful opportunity to remove the edge and the acidic slap in the face of gossip. So that kind of completes yesterday's picture for me. And we may still touch on it as people share today, because there's some new people in the room today. What I do want to say, though, is our topic today is, are you listening and thinking you're not part of the gossip chain? See, for me as a listener, and here's a great example right here on Clubhouse, the listeners are the most important part of Clubhouse. Why? Because if you've got nobody listening, you may as well not be talking. So therefore, for me, the listening is very powerful. And if you're somebody that's listening to gossip, my point of view says you have two choices. You can listen to it, which means you're complicit in it, you're a part of it, or you can open your mouth and say, look, Frank or Jane is not here. Why don't we have this conversation when they're here? And then they have an opportunity to share their point of view and where they're at. And that is so important. And people forget. People don't remember how important listening is. And with that, I release my mic to Sujata. And then Sujata, if we want to dive into the audience, would love to do that.
Yes, so I'll just take it a bit forward from what you said, because those were my thoughts. And they are that gossip is another form of communication. And as you pointed out, listening is an important part of communication, right? So it's a matter of demand and supply. If you're talking and somebody's listening, then it completes the form of communication. And silently listening is also an answer. So if you are allowing somebody to speak and you're listening, then you are actually creating a platform and feeding into it. That is one example that I would like to say. And the second is, when you listen and then you may not respond right there and then in the conversation, but you take it forward by taking whatever was said to you and embellish it or add to it and carry the tale further without the people who we are talking about being present, without knowing facts, and we are just doing it for no actually valid reason, just that it's a form of probably an entertainment, passing time, or it's just there. So the damage that is done to the persons is many folds, and we were talking yesterday as to how it can lead to, you know, instances where people even contemplate suicide, or there is a character assassination and slander from which you never really get out of it, no matter how hard you try. So it's a question of choice, that you cut it short and you don't indulge in it. And it's not so easy that we do defamation cases, because when you are doing it in your surroundings, nobody's going to actually record it, then go and make a complaint and then do all those stuff. So the legal process is always very complicated and relies heavily on evidence, which for general public who gossip, it's not really there. With that, I pass the mic back.
Go for it, Joey. Ooh, he's bouncing on that mic.
No, yeah, well, I unfortunately have 4 minutes until I get to my destination. A couple of things, and I love the share so far. Great conversation yesterday. So I'll just share two things that I do. Well, I'll share one thing, and then the other will be an example. I I do ask on occasion when something happens. and I'll say, hey, I don't need to know any of the story, but is there something I need to know? And if the person says no, then I walk away. The only reason why I do ask that sometimes is if we're in a business professional situation, and if there's something I need to know, obviously, if there's something I need to know, it would be told to me. But sometimes I just want to ask, is there anything I need to know? And if they say no, I drop it. And then that's it. The other thing I was going to comment on, though, or I was going to share a story, when I was let go from the church, I even think we have the responsibility to even protect and be careful how we share our side of the story. And in the right time, if it presents itself to share publicly, then that happens. But I took a stance because it was it was so raw, and people didn't understand why I was getting fired, and it blindsided. There was a lot of hurt right there. I chose to remain quiet, even though it was my story. I had the right to tell my story if I really wanted to, but I didn't see telling anything about my story that was going to be beneficial, and it could have led to gossip. So that's just my take on it. I even think we have to be cautious, even sharing our story. Now, with that being said, I don't mean that obviously, which the book that Sujata wrote, I love, and it's amazing. I'm not really talking about that level. I'm just talking about, for me, in my situation inside that church, where I had an opportunity to, if I wanted to publicly explain and possibly show anger and be mad and tell everyone that wanted to listen, or even if they didn't want with an ear, how wronged I was. I just chose not to, and I'll yield the mic.
Thank you, Joey. And I'm going to go back up. Thanks for jumping in. Jeanette, did I just see you flash?
You did. I wanted to just do a quick add-on to what Joey was talking about. Because he said he was in a conflict, and of course, he could have told his story, but it requires two different sides. And that's important because one of the things that people need to learn, if you have information about an event or a person and you're not in it, it's not your story to tell. And if you do tell it, that is gossip. And of course, people embellish, and it never is exact. I just wanted to add to his share.
Yeah, and if I could just really just finish the story. After 2 weeks of being fired and not being people wondering where the heck I was, because it wasn't discussed, the night of the business meeting where the pastor was going to let the church know that I was no longer on staff, I had called him earlier that morning and asked if I could meet with him in the personnel committee before the meeting. I had no plans on going to the meeting. Obviously, I wasn't invited to it. At that point, I was already let go. And I asked him, I said, because it was important to me, I said, well, what are you going to tell the church? Because that was important to me. Like, what were you going to tell them happened? And he didn't say anything. I said, well, you should tell them that me and you were at odds. We just couldn't come to an agreement on certain issues on leadership, and you fired me. And he said, no, I'm not going to tell them that. I said, well, then do this. I said, to protect your ministry, my ministry, and the ministry of the church, I said, I would ask you just to tell them that we fired Joey. He's okay. He didn't do any, and I didn't even tell him what else. I said, just tell them that we fired Joey. He's okay. People get fired and move on from it, and end the discussion. And so that's what I asked him to do. I wasn't there. I heard he did say it that way, and it kind of came out wrong. It kind of sounded like that Joey asked not to tell anyone what I did. But once again, my battles get handled at a so much higher level than man's level, and that's why I chose. And we've had this conversation before. How do you deal with conflict? Well, sometimes you just let it be. And I yield the mic.
Go ahead, Jeanette.
Yeah, one of the things I learned, Joey, for legal issues is that when you are fired, the better term to use for liability issues, always make sure that they say we've separated. That's it. You don't use the word fired, you don't use the word terminated, separated. And it leaves all parties at a neutral level. So I wanted to share that.
Thanks, Jeanette. Pamela.
Hello again. Something that comes to my mind, and I can't speak to the legal aspect. What occurs when you are in a legal situation that involves communications, misinformation. Miscommunication sometimes is a nice way. It's a nice word, isn't it? It was communicated. No, it really wasn't miscommunicated, but sometimes people will say something's miscommunicated, not really. But anyway, what I wanted to say is a wise person once told me, let the dust settle. And I think of those words often because I tend to go in full steam and I get very protective of my people and very, very offended around gossip and I can hear it. It just and I get very, very Scotch Irish used to be a full natural. Well, I am a natural redhead, not anymore. It's all kind of graying out. But anyway, my point is I do sometimes have a little bit of a side of me. And when gossip is around me, that side comes out, especially when it's vengeful and it serves no purpose other than to tear somebody down and take away something from them. Gossip steals from people. Slander steals from people. And it needs to be counteracted with something. I love what Joey said about his God will sort it out. So sometimes I just step back and I have to let the dust settle and realize that I can come back to it later and then attack it later. Just let the dust settle a little bit because sometimes it's like feeding the animals. You know that expression, don't feed the animals. When you're in a situation with a bunch of people, just don't feed the animals. Don't engage. Don't encourage the energy. So there's a lot of discernment, I believe, in how to handle those kind of situations. But yes, it all gets sorted out in the end. Whether you believe in God or not, He believes in you. If you want to call it karma or whatever, the universe, God. But I believe God Almighty, the Creator that created each one of us, protects us. He sorts it out in the end. So sometimes it's difficult. I'm rambling now because this is a hot topic for me, but sometimes it's difficult for me to sit back and let the dust settle. I want to call people out, and sometimes it's not the appropriate thing at that time to do. There's a lot of discernment in this. So thank you, Coach, for letting me ramble on like this, and I appreciate it. Pamela, out.
Well, Pamela, I don't consider it rambling. I consider it a discussion where we do some what I call amazing thinking. So I appreciate your ability to share and look at those things because I think it's important to be responsible across the board.
Hi, Kristen. So lovely to have you up on stage.
Hello, my love. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I do. Okay. Just because this is happening at work right now, and
And most of you don't know the postal world. It's like being in high school when it comes to things that are going on in people's lives, what's happening with you, so on and so forth. My husband will be the first to tell you I don't have a mouth that stays shut when it should. So I open mouth and insert foot a lot. So the instance going on right now, which is driving everybody batty, is what managers are being moved. What managers are going to be either new managers at a station or who got a particular position, rumors flying. And it affects a lot of other employees, the other managers or acting managers at stations. And I'm currently on a detail of a station that is waiting to see who is the new manager coming in because I'm just an acting manager at the station. I have my own station that I'm safe and secured at. But there's all these rumors of who's moving and when, and it's causing a lot of angsty poo in people that it's affecting. And so here's the problem. Vote 2, and obviously the big boss has had a conversation with someone for these rumors to start, because in the postal world, rumors are usually truth, and the unions usually hear before us, at least in my 26 years experience. So today, yesterday, several people have asked our postmaster if these are true and if they know anything, and what is the actual answer. And we get from them, guys, we know nothing, we don't know what you're talking about. So it's disheartening that people have to go through day-to-day jobs to get the job done. Some people are working 16, 18, moving. She'll be taking a downgrade, but it's just not right. And I really have come in and said, does anybody have anything that they just want to get out there? Well, I'm going to tell you it was me, because I speak up, and we still got dead air. And so I really thought about emailing the district manager. I didn't, because it's not my position to get myself in there, because it doesn't affect me. I go back to my own station, so it doesn't hurt me, but it does affect these other people, and it's stressing them out. Why can't people just be honest? It's not a secret. We all know, and we all know that it's somewhat, probably 50% true, 50% not, but why can't they just be honest? So I know that was maybe a little different direction of what you guys were talking about, but does anybody have any advice for that?
I have some comment to that. And so what happens is when you have people in a manager role and they do not, they're not able to be discreet. They lack that leadership role or a leadership skill in order to manage, the crews, because there's anxiety there. And also, it's important that Pamela mentioned the word discernment. So there's a little bit of skill that has to be had in the leadership. They have to have discernment. They have to know what discretion is. If they don't, employee could have gone up to them and said, I think I'm going to apply for this position. And next thing you know, they're spreading it around. That's a lack of discretion. And so things like that happen. I worked in the government. There was no discretion. There was no discernment. It's very toxic at times. Everything is public record. So if they read something in any government publication that managers were going to be moving around, somebody may have said something that, because they don't know how the government works, they just go in and do their job. And so when they read it, they're thinking, this must be set in stone. So it's difficult to say in government, because there's so many pieces. There are a lot of movement right now in government right now, especially in postal service. And but discretion and discernment are very important. The reason why discretion is because it's not your story to tell. And it goes back to that. If somebody tells you something and you repeat it, you don't belong in a manager role. You don't belong anywhere that's around people. It's kind of like telephone, telegraph, tell that person. You don't tell people that have the 3 T's stamped on their forehead. You avoid them at all costs because you know this is the kind of environment that they thrive on. They love to create it, and they love the attention. This is Jeanette, and I'm complete.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. Appreciate that. Anybody else want to pop in?
Yeah, this is Pamela again. Coach, thank you for telling me I'm not rambling. I'm going to just consider thinking out loud with y'all then.
Amen.
The discussion. Thank you. You know, I've been in rooms before where I have been called out for rambling. So I'm a little sensitive to that. So what I wanted to say that comes to my mind as I was listening is, in my experience, if I look back on a segment of gossip, for instance, I can usually figure out that the person gossiping, the person that is doing this, has there's a fear. There's some kind of fear, some kind of, usually a huge insecurity, something that is causing that, or sometimes it's just wanting attention. But there's, I just always noticed they are afraid. The person gossiping is afraid, and when we're talking about in the postal situation, for instance, there's probably a fear. There's a fear base. What's going to happen to me? People are so selfish. Usually they're just looking out for themselves, and so they're what's going to happen to me. And so it's not unusual to make things up about other people to elevate their status in a employment situation. So that just came to my mind: fear and insecurity. If we can trace that back and find out what is this person afraid of, what is this person so insecure about, and then try to tackle that. Sometimes it helps stop the gossip and also helps the other person. But I just wanted to throw that out there if anybody's noticed that before in people that run around talking about other people. They're insecure, they want attention, or sometimes they're just deathly afraid of something. They're deathly afraid of something that somebody else is going to do to them, say about them, how they're going to be treated, what's going to happen to them. So they'll make up scenarios, make up stories, attack the other person verbally, or attack another group verbally, assault them verbally, make up things just to as we know, put other people down, which is so sad. So
hey, Pamela,
yes.
Do you think that there's some FOMO, as they call it, fear of missing out, that could be going on too?
Yes, but yeah, they're afraid they've already missed out. So I don't know if any of y'all have ever experienced people that will then downplay what actually happened. Okay, so somebody gets a raise, for instance, that FOMO. Well, it's already there. They already missed out. So then they've got to attack that other person. So that's a fear-based reaction to FOMO.
Well, it's very interesting. I used to work for a corporate company, and if you were caught talking about your paycheck or about your income, it was a write-up and then fireable offense on the second time.
Wow, I would just take my money and go home then.
They just didn't want people in the hallways talking about their paycheck because of the damage it does to other people. Does that make sense?
Well, to me, it does. I don't want to monopolize the stage here, but yes, absolutely, it makes sense. And especially, golly, when money's involved, people can really show their colors. So when somebody believes that somebody, or not believes, but they're hearing in the hallway or in the restroom or coffee room, wherever outside, they hear that so and so is making a certain amount of money more than they are. That's going to rear up certain emotions in people, and yeah, I don't think it'd be unusual for somebody then to start attacking that person, gossiping like, oh, he's not really that great at this. He really did not file that file. Somebody else did it for him, or those kind of gossip situations could arise. Jealousy. There you go. In that situation, perhaps the emotion then would be jealousy. Envy. I'm jealous of this person now because I work just as hard as so and so, and so I just found out that so and so makes more money than I do. I don't understand this, so therefore I'm going to verbally assault this person by just gossiping. They're stretching the truth. They're just making up lies, So yes, I believe that's very possible.
Awesome. Valerie, do you want to chime in on this?
Coach, can you come back to me, please?
Oh, I'd love to. No problem at all.
Thank you.
Joey, how about you?
I think he's at his destination.
Oh, that's right. Jeanette, did you want to add any more?
I kind of like what Pamela said, what she added to it. I think she covered some underlying reasons why people do that. And just tell people, don't do it. Stop it. What was that? What's that character you always tell us to watch? And he says, stop it.
Oh, Bob Newhart.
Bob Newhart, yes.
Oh my gosh.
People that spread gossip, they need to go see a therapist, and they're going to tell them to stop it. How's that?
That is one of the funniest videos I think I've ever seen.
It's hilarious. Just stop it. It's gossip is destructive. It's disruptive behavior. It shows poor character, no integrity, dishonesty. And if you know anybody that gossips, make sure you take them off your friend list. That's the only advice I can give you. This is Jeanette, and I'm complete.
Amen. Sujata, are you going to chime in?
Yeah, I'm listening, but I will just add this point that not all gossip is about fear, jealousy, and all. There is also malicious, deliberate gossip,
Oh, yeah.
and that is something which is not only uh, a no, but it really, really affects people, and there is no way sometimes that you can get over it, and it can damage a person's reputation, their life, and so forth and so on, like I shared yesterday. So it's like society has to change its mindset, or human beings have to change their mindset, because as I said, the one who's listening should not listen and should take the step of saying shut up. And if they don't do that, then there's no checking anybody, right? I mean, you can go to later on to therapist, counselor, or you can be chided for doing that, but if right in the beginning whosoever is listening puts an end to it instead of actually laying the breeding ground, then that itself is a key point. At the start, you kill it at the start, not after it's gone over your head.
That's a good point, Sujata, that if you witness it, stop it.
Yeah,
Judge it the minute you hear it and
exactly.
do something about it. That's very important.
Amen. Very much so. Chris Booker, welcome to the stage. How are you, sir?
Hello, sir. I am well. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well this afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much.
So we are discussing today, are you listening and thinking you're not part of the gossip chain? What are your thoughts about that, Chris?
Yes, the continuation from yesterday. Well, here's my thoughts, right? And speaking of that, I have to tell you guys a story. Long ago in a galaxy
Far, far away.
No, but that's the thing. It's not far away galaxy because it's modern, right? So I gotta tell you about this guy, this person that I know. Oh my goodness, this guy's a knucklehead. Named Chris Booker. Absolutely, he's a knucklehead. But you know what? God takes knuckleheads and makes them something different. So I'm glad that I'm a knucklehead because God uses knuckleheads. But no, I love the conversation. You don't have to listen to it. I got too many other things to do than to listen to these stories, man. You know, and why? Who's perfect? Can anybody? And maybe you live in a glass house and your glass is very tough, but the glass I live in is very fragile. So I don't want to throw stones because I don't want you throwing stones at my house. That's how that works. But who has time to listen to it, right? Don't you have other things to do?
Well, not if you're a soap opera listener. Come on, Chris.
And so goes the days of our life.
Yes, tag team. I love.
You're like the sands of time. Exactly.
Yes, I couldn't think of that first part. Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah, it's this is something else. It really is, because I think the damage. You know, I want to bring this back because I don't want this to leave our thought process. You know, Sujata mentioned at the beginning when she and I were talking yesterday, and we talked about that there are people that listen to gossip and go and commit suicide. Not just the people that are part of the gossip, but the people that are listening to it, hear it, and then go and commit suicide. So for me, this is another layer to the damage that gossip can do. Even if you may not be gossiping in that particular moment about that particular person you're talking to. That person you're talking to suddenly hears all the gossip that you're saying, and they're like, oh my God, what is this person? What is everybody saying about me? Where am I at? And the next thing you know, they're sitting at home alone, and they're so in their head, they're like, I can't live like this anymore. And it all started because somebody was gossiping about another person to them and with them. Now, some of you might say, well, that person shouldn't have been listening and they should have stopped. But they don't have the character, they don't have the strength in a conversational environment. They have not yet built that strength to push through it or walk away from it. Go ahead, Chris.
Just applauding, that's my virtual applause. Absolutely correct. Yeah. It's enticing, I guess, for some, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, did you hear about Charlie? Oh, my goodness, Charlie's the biggest barnacle head. I can't believe he would do that and need that reaffirmation for you just to be lured in. No, I'm good. You know what? Charlie's having a bad day, and so am I. So you had a bad day. Take it one down. You know what I mean? We all have situations. I don't need to hear it. Like, I'll tell you about me before you tell me about Charlie. You know what I mean? But I love it, man. Good stuff.
And to jump in one, and I saw you flash, Jeanette, I'll be right there. To jump in to kind of put a little bit of icing onto the conversation that Kristen asked. To me, if you're at the top of the food chain in an organization and you find out that there is gossip happening about something as important as and impactful as job realignments, then it is your responsibility in that moment to do a mass communication, resolving the issues, because you are responsible. You are at the top of the food chain. You are responsible. If you are the owner of the company, you're at the top of the food chain. You are responsible. If you are the manager of a division, you are at the top of the food chain. You are responsible. And it falls to you, even if you haven't been a part of it, even if you didn't know about it. The minute it steps up to your ladder and ends up on your table, you are in that moment responsible for it. And in that moment is when you get in communication with all of the supervisors, all of the people at the first layer below you, and with all the people, everybody, so that there's no longer any loss. There is a mass communication that says, look, there are changes coming. None of them are secure yet. None of them have been fully determined. And we all know there are changes coming. So whoever started the gossip, whoever said this is happening here and this is happening there, none of that currently is fact. Until we have made a decision, spoken to each individual that it impacts, gotten agreement, changed the schedules, made the moves, all of it is gossip. And my request is you cease and desist, because it is impacting people's lives. End of story. No more. If you are heard talking about this or gossiping, you will be written up. It's pretty simple. Integrity. Anything else on this particular topic, Kristen, is emotional drama that is sprinkled into it and is not supposed to exist in that same bucket. Does that communicate? Go ahead, Jeanette.
Absolutely. And I was going to say the same thing, Coach. It's all part of it's conflict resolution. Look, you've got conflict. You're at the top. You need to nip it in the bud, and exactly what you said. Cease and desist. Say, hey, we're all adults here. Let's talk adult here. And you do that memo and you send it out and you discontinue that. And we, even the public knows there's a lot of changes going on in the post office. I see it. So there's nothing to stress about. There's going to be changes. Just wait it out and do your job and do it well. That's all you have to do. It's a government job. They have to really do a lot to get rid of you. But what I was going to say was that, for you, Sujata, you don't see our news here. And it is filled with destructive gossip.
Oh.
And the bad people, they don't want to call attention on themselves, so they will create gossip about someone else to distract everything away from them. So you got this. If you watch the news, I happen to I really want to see why people are stuck on this news channel, and I watched it, and I was afraid. I was like, first of all, 99.9% of it is not true, so that's gossip. Where did the integrity in journalism go that nobody fact checks? And a lot of people in our country watch this news channel. And I looked at it and I said, I had to turn it off. I was afraid. And how could people watch this? And if this is what they're watching, then all the media is doing is saying we can sell advertisement by propagating all of this. Can you imagine being brainwashed to watch that stuff and spread it? and you're watching them advertise it, and the people that are propagating are making money off of it. Wow. Think about that.
Well, I mean, it's
Jeanette, and I'm complete.
Jeanette, you, before you mute up, think about it. It's the same as Dallas, the soap opera. What did people used to do? They used to have conversations around the water cooler about a freaking soap opera.
Yes. They had to, hey, what did you hear? Did you see what JR did? You know, and the weekly shows, Dynasty, the water cooler conversations. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that, Coach.
Yeah, and then it goes one step further. You know what just happened with George and Mary? They're just like the couple on Dynasty or on Dallas. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going on? And now all of a sudden somebody hears around the corner that's sitting in a cubicle, hears, well, George and Mary are like Dallas. Look what happened to Dallas. Oh my gosh, we're going to have an implosion here. And poof, we're in a mess.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You know, I worked for when I worked in law enforcement, my chief of police, he was really strict. He said, you follow the law, you be the example for the public, you keep integrity, because if it gets to me, there's going to be a consequence. So what he was saying is, if something gets to him, there's something shaky about your integrity. You're about to fall out of integrity, or you already have, and he will act on it. He didn't mess around, and he didn't. Even if a rumor got to him, he'd have intervention set up. He'd have it ready, because you either came out clean to him and said, I need help, or I won't do it again, and you took the reprimand, or you were done. He didn't mess around. He had a really good department. So when you have leaders like that, that is great, because you know you're working with some good people. But yeah, when you work with people that are in fear, that have to spread gossip, you know you can't trust people you're around, and that creates anxiety. That is toxic, and it creates stress. This is Jeanette, and I'm complete.
Well, I'd like to pass the mic over to Connie. How you doing, Connie?
Just great.
Did you want to weigh in? We're getting we're getting close towards the end here, and I want to make sure that you get a contribution.
Now, just wanted to say it's very important that you don't gossip. You know, I myself, I have some things going on in my life, and I don't want people to know my business, because at 56 years old, I've had a lot of experiences where people take your weaknesses for granted, as well as your kindness for weakness. And so it's best not to, tell too much information, because people are going to do what they do. But I really hate when gossip catches on like cancer, and you haven't fulfilled your probationary period. There are policies and regulations in place, and so it makes you like on the fence as to whether you can overcome that setback, if that's the type of job that you want to make a career out of. Very few places are letting people retire now. So we'll probably have a very poor economy as far as senior citizens. I don't know. But yeah, there are a lot of pros and cons to navigating your way through an organization. Your family is an organization. So there's a lot of pros and cons to navigating your way through strife. And I yield my mic.
Connie, you've hit the nail on the head a little bit, because as we wrap up today, the thing that I think so infuriates me around this whole topic is the people that overhear. And what I mean by that is the person that's around the corner that stops to listen to the conversation, the person in a cubicle, the person in a bathroom, the person in the hallway. It is so detrimental to judge and assess and form opinions that are not verified. So I think that as we continue to look at this, and you know, there are never any accidents. I'm sitting here today, or last night, I'm sorry, my days run together, the evening, and I'm watching a movie called Ip Man. And it's about martial artists and a very famous martial artist in his history. And somebody comes to challenge him, and he says, well, let's do this in private. And they do it in private, and yet somebody has a kite that comes over the garden fence. And as he's going up, climbing the garden fence, he looks in and sees the two of them having a fight. And the repercussions of him going and saying, oh, Master Ip won, Master Ip won, Master Ip won, when the two gentlemen said they were not going to say anything. They were not going to discuss it any further. To me, who gave that individual that was sitting on the fence the permission to go and be that spreader? And this goes on in business every single day. People see things. And I've even had somebody throw a really smart, poopy comment back to me and said, well, I know that 85 to 95% of communication is nonverbal. And I could see by their body actions, this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So you're basing this gossip on your interpretation of their body language. And what a powerful way to ruin somebody's life. This whole conversation. And I'm excited to tell you that we're going to continue it one more layer tomorrow evening at 9:30 Central Standard Time. And since it's Friday night, we'll probably have hats off. And we'll get into it and we'll dig a little deeper. And so for those of you that are here that wish to participate tomorrow and have the ability to come and join us, I'm going to give you a little homework. I want you to think of a time when you were impacted by gossip. And when you bring that story, my challenge for you as a coach, my challenge is for you is to share that story. Share with me how it didn't work. Share with me the possibility of what to do instead of that way. And to also look yourself in the mirror and look yourself in the eye. and see what shows up in that. And come prepared to jump on the stage and have a conversation with us. Sujata, anything else you want to share?
I shall reserve it for tomorrow.
And there's the hook. So before we close, I'd just like, if anybody has a burning desire to share something to complete the conversation over there with you, please go ahead and unmute, and then we'll go ahead and do the countdown and close the room and prepare it for tomorrow.
Hey, Coach, would you please let me know the information to be a part of tonight's board meeting?
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes. In fact, Valerie, if you want to send your email to Sister Jeanette right next to you, and I will send you on back channel on Clubhouse. I'll send you the link. And also, if you send the email, Jeanette can put you into the email.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I've been trying to get on, but it was so late for me. But tonight I will be awake and ready. Thank you.
Hey, and if you hold on one quick flash, let me do something here really quickly. If everybody looks and sees, come on, let's make it work. Here we go. You'll see the link right above me brings you to this room later on. And then when you come in, the Zoom link will be where that is. Does that make sense, Valerie?
Kind of, sort of.
All right. No worries. I'll send you the Zoom link directly.
Okay. Is it the same one from always?
Always, yes.
Okay, I have it. You sent it to me when I first started coming on the room with you. So I'll just go there and I'll see you all tonight.
Look forward to it. Thank you so much for being a part of our board of directors meeting. Look forward to having you there.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward for tomorrow's continuation of this podcast.
Yeah, it is going to be, it's going to be a live and juicy one, and I do believe I can. Oh yes, I do. I have it already scheduled, so I can grab that. And now that the other one's been there for a minute, I can go ahead, and for those of you that want to hit the little bell, you can go ahead and click on this link, and this will schedule you for the room for tomorrow night. Man, high tech. It's almost as good as asking Siri or Alexa. All right. Any other questions?
I just think that's going to be a good idea for people to talk about, what the end result was. For me, it was the separation of a job that I didn't even get a chance to finish out the probationary period. You don't want to be exploited by, going any farther with it either. But I think that's going to be a good topic, for tomorrow. That is, and people, they have baggage that they never mentally unpack, and then people have issues that they're dealing with, and so they have their guards up. They don't necessarily, need to be. Then sometimes, you may feel you need to tell people what's going on so they will know. Like why you acting different, or are you depressed? Because I learned for me, clinical depression meant that I don't do the things that I love to do. I don't remember the things that I selectively love to remember. So yeah, I think that'll be a good topic. Because everybody can make a mistake of doing TMI, too much information, but I think some parties need to know what's going on with you. And if you're going to gossip, then that just messes up the dynamics of the relationship.
Amen. Very succinctly put, Connie. Thank you. I love it. Anybody else want to chime in?
This is Pamela. I was just thinking while Connie was speaking, the word kept my mind kept absorbing this word defense. How we are hardwired to defend ourselves. So again, it's a fine line, though, isn't it? Because sometimes if we jump in and defend ourselves, it feeds the gossip. It continues the gossip. And so, I said that I quoted that statement that was said to me that was just so powerful. Let the dust settle. Let the dust settle. But again, then there are times we got to sweep too. We got to sweep the dust out, right? So I think defending ourselves is also, we're just hardwired to do that. No, I did not say that. No, that did not happen. No, this is what really happened to me. And then, there have been times I wanted to pull out my medical records, for instance. I wanted to prove that this actually happened. I was in defense mode. And so it's almost like a game. It's almost like when to show your cards, when to hold them close, what to say and whom to say it to, but more importantly, why do we feel like we need to defend ourselves? And sometimes we have to. I believe it's important. It's important to set the record straight. It's powerful to do that. And this is just such a good topic, Coach. I regret missing last night. But
it's more about defense mechanism and TMI. Too much information for me. When sometimes I sit back and I'm like, well, hey, I'm getting up in age, so I'm retired. I can never wear my mother's shoes. I can never have an olive branch with everybody. But I do sit back and I say they really needed to know that. But you just, the defense mechanism means, listen, the less you know about me, the more likely you will zero in on my weaknesses, my vulnerabilities. And then because you might, depending on how you say it, who you say it to, you self-sabotage yourself.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow's going to be fun. And tomorrow, what we a lot of times will do is after the podcast, hour and 15 minutes is done, we may stick around and have a little social hour here on Clubhouse and discuss beneath the Iron Curtain. Right, Sujata? What was that?
Right. I said that's right.
All right. So I am going to shut down the podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you. For those of you, I do hope you'll click on that little link and come and visit us tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. I want to say thank you to Tom and Patricia and to James and to Terry. Thank you so much for being in the listening lounges. I want to say thank you to Connie. Thank you to Chris. So great to see both of you. My wife, I hear she's in the house and listening while she's taking a shower. That's hilarious.
I didn't hear your dog panting. I overslept this morning, but I thought about that. I hear him preaching more than you.
Oh, too funny. Oh my gosh. I think, Connie, between you and Selena, we've got a couple of ripe comedians for the 24-hour Bible study club.
Yes, I'm so. My father calls me peculiar, but how can a stoic person call you peculiar? But everybody don't rub me the same, but for the most part, I'm silly. Even my mom said that. She said, "You're always smiling. Your eyes have never changed since birth." Because I'm always laughing at people and more with them than at them. But you have to make sense of the world. You really do.
Amen. Amen. Well, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. And for the rest of you, we're going to do a little noise on the way out of here again. And then I'll come in and do a 5-4. And here we go.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
We've increased our sales by about 33%, blowing all of our goals out of the water.
In my first 6 months, I actually grew my business with his help over 500%. Literally 500%.
Les Hill is the type of person that invests back in you and back into your company. So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.